Welcome everyone to another Capital Connection. I am Conan Smith. I'm the president and CEO of the Michigan Environmental Council. I am joined today by my friend, MEC member, longtime environmentalist Horst Schmidt. Horst is the president of the Upper Peninsula Environmental Coalition and has been helping UPEC grow its influence, protecting these beautiful places in the UP from mining and logging operations, from really strange development proposals like rocket ships. And we are in a project that he invited us to join to protect some very, very beautiful and pristine acres of land as wilderness area on the eastern and west, well, middle and western parts of the Upper Peninsula. Horst is going to take us through today and talk about the importance of this designation as it relates to both environmental protection, but also this sense of place that it helps us establish in Michigan. And we're going to do a little virtual walkthrough of these places that we hope to protect and preserve. Horst, welcome as a guest to Capital Connection. You've been a long-time listener, as they say. It's so nice to bring you on as a guest. Thanks for taking time.
Well, thank you, Conan. It's a real pleasure to be on your program and to find out how you make your program work versus the one we have at UPEC. So,
well, you had me on your show a few months ago or last year, and we're learning a lot from what you guys do. I've been talking to Bo Brockett about how we can up our game, get a little music in there, have a little more fun like you do. It's your show's pretty excellent too. So, okay. Hey, Horst, will you give the audience a little bit of a sense of you, like who you are, what UPEC is, what you've been working on, that sort of thing?
Well, I'm a refugee from Wisconsin, and as they're talking about climate refugees, I'm one of the early ones. And so I came up here permanently in 2013. And as soon as, actually even before I came up permanently, I started getting involved in volunteer activities in it. And one thing was the Quincy Smelter Association, which actually got me into environmental advocacy. And so I've joined UPEC, another group called Friends of the Land of Keweenaw, and I actually got into one of our what are called public action committees, which are advisory groups to the state on cleaning up Torch Lake here in the Houghton Hancock area.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm involved in a number of other activities, but this is my primary interest.
When did you get involved with UPEC?
About 2016, 2015, somewhere in that area. So, and as soon as I got involved, I got to be president. So.
I understand how that happens.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
So when I came up and visited you last year, or maybe that was 2019, I forget, we didn't do much meeting last year, unfortunately. You at that time showed me some of the things that you all were working on, one of which is this opportunity to protect some really beautiful places in the Upper Peninsula. We joined UPEC and now a whole bunch of other organizations in Keep the UP Wild campaign that you guys are leading with the Environmental Law and Policy Center. I'm a big fan of the Upper Peninsula. I've spent many vacation days from the time I was a very young kid up in the Porcupine Mountains and the surrounding area. It's one of my favorite places. But you're a resident, and the experience of a visitor, a tourist to the beautiful natural areas is different from the folks who live with it every day. can you talk a little bit about what it means to you as a UP resident that we're protecting, preserving, and keeping these areas wild?
Yeah, it's really important because you have this legacy of mining and logging up here. And mining in the Keweenaw ended just over half a century ago. And Torch Lake, which I mentioned, is part of what that legacy of cleanup that is still occurring in the UP. And the what you see when you're a resident is all the deficits that are there, that you didn't see when the line was in front of your face because were so enamored of all the scenery and everything.
Right.
But it's the problems are there, and I think one of the main reasons for environmental groups to be involved is because you need to keep the pressure on, keep that money coming in to clean up our areas. And so we've been very fortunate that the state has cleaned up the shoreline area of Torch Lake, for example. And our public advisory committee is the one that's working on cleaning up the lake itself. So that gives you some idea of the magnitude of what we're doing. And there are many other areas that have these types of problems.
Are you outdoor recreation person yourself?
Well, I'm becoming less of one as I age, and it's I enjoyed the skiing and the hiking and just getting out there. One of the great things of living here is in about a minute I can be in the wilderness. That's what I love. I live in a ravine area next to the lake, and so the backside of my street is the mountain, and it's beautiful. I can just look up there. I don't have to go anywhere. That's really what it boils down to.
Is there a sense of the wildness of the Upper Peninsula contributing to the culture of the place as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have this this individualism ethic that is part of this country, and we have our version of it, called Uperism, and it's used to have more of a Finnish accent, but it's as time goes by, those residents are passing away, so everybody kind of talks the same way now instead of having our little language fun.
There's this opportunity to protect four pristine areas as wilderness that the Keep the UP Wild campaign is focusing on right now. Can you give us a little bit of UP Wild's history and how this opportunity has been created?
Sure. This is really a collaborative project, and it's amazing how well it has all come together because Environmental Law Policy Center out of Chicago is the one that contacted us and said, we're interested in protecting these areas, and this is our chance to do it because of the changes that are occurring. And so they pulled in myself, John Sari, who's a longtime member of UPEC, and then Doug Weltker, who used to be on the UPEC board but is on the folk board now. And Doug has really been crucial because he's done a lot of the research that led to what you see on our website. And so we've been moving along, and the other thing is gaining the support of our allies, and I think they just sent me a note and said we're up to 68 groups that are supporting our activity. So we're shooting for 100. So let's cross our fingers.
I'm sure we'll get there. It's a project that really touches the heart, and as I'm sure our listeners are going to hear today, and there'll be folks here on the webinar who can help build that coalition bigger. So every 4 years or so, the federal government designates land as wilderness in order to protect it. And in 2019, that was a couple million acres that got set aside. Now that we have an administration that is keenly interested in this kind of protection, I think there's a real opportunity to get the attention of the Biden administration to the UP protection work. And Senator Stabenow is now the chair of the Agriculture Committee, which is where the natural resource bills are likely to originate. Are you feeling hopeful that we're going to get some traction with this strong coalition and this political connection that we now have?
Yeah, I mean, the Environmental Law and Policy Center has people in Washington, so they're working, the officials, the political officers to see if they can build that consensus for a sponsorship and get work to build through both the House and the Senate.
Let's take a look at these places. I'm going to put up a slide with with a map of the western portion of the Upper Peninsula. Can you introduce this landscape and geography,
Sure.
folks?
Okay, well, this is the Ottawa National Forest, and all the green area is the forest. As you can see, it's not contiguous. It's more or less a lot of inholdings, and kind of looks like some kind of animal eating it from the west side there. But what you're seeing is right on above the number 1 on the left is the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness Area, the state park. And this is about 60,000 acres. And we're seeking to get 51,000 acres into the wilderness designation in 4 different areas, 3 that are connected and 1 that is not, and we'll explain why. So what you have is number 1 is Elko, and that's EHLCO. It's the initials of a logging company that used to log there.
Oh,
yeah. So that's why. And I think it was Edward Hines Lumber Logging Company, something like that. And then the second one is the Trap Hills, which is of great interest. And if you look, just running diagonally just under the period, under number 2, you can see a grayish area. That's the boundary of the mountains that we have in the Trap Hills. And I think we need to let our listeners know that this is a volcanic landscape that was created a little over 1 billion years ago. And so what you're seeing today is that activity, and then multiple glaciations. And the last one ended in about 9,000 years ago. And so everything that we have growing has come from that base. And so we have a lot of sand, and the mountains are exposed in many spots, which is part of the beauty that we have here. So, excuse me. So anyway, if you'd like, we could start with the Trap Hills, I believe.
yeah. Before we run into the specific places, so this is a mix of protected lands. Some of it is national forest, some of it is state forest, some of it is state park, some of it is national park, national lakeshore. How does wilderness designation fit into the protection scheme from your perspective?
Well, in our case, we are only using land that is owned by the Ottawa National Forest. So even though, in this map, it looks like a jigsaw puzzle, when you get closer down, these are huge areas. We're looking at 51,000 acres. All but 2,000 of it will go into areas 1, 2, and 3. And so when we're looking at them more closely, you'll see that it isn't isn't as cut up as it seems. And so we're happy to be able to pull this package together, because one of the things is with the changes occurring up here with real estate, the concern is that there'll be more and more commercial, perhaps extractive activity, and we want to be able to protect it. Even though it's a national forest, the U.S. Forest Service is obligated to allow mining and logging. And so by putting a designation of wilderness on it, it then removes those areas from those activities. And we're able to have an area that is, if not pristine in the sense of never having been touched, but pristine in the sense that it's there now, it's grown back from whatever logging occurred. And so it looks like the wilderness that it originally was prior to European entry.
That wilderness designation is such a boon in a place that is actively managed for natural resources. The logging and the mining and whatnot are going to continue on the kinds of state and national forest lands, because that's the purpose of their preservation, is to protect and make available the natural resource. That wilderness designation makes sure that we're going to see this place in its most unique and original form that we can for generations. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm getting more and more excited as we move along here, because the reality of getting that designation seems to be pretty coming closer and closer.
And so we're going to delve in because they're incredibly beautiful places. I mean, this is one of the things I think it's hard to wrap your heads around the concept of wilderness until you see some of the pictures. So I'm really grateful that you have provided this for each of these 4 areas. Folks should know that in the past month or so, Governor Whitmer has twice proposed that we put millions of dollars into parks funding coming out of the federal investments for COVID relief. And she wants to close that gap that we have around parks maintenance and availability. And just recently announced that we're going to have a new state park, and our second urban state park in Flint. This momentum around parks and recreation and protecting areas for us to access has really grown coming out of COVID, in part because we learned, or we re-recognized the impact that being in natural spaces has on our human health, our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health. And places like these wilderness designation areas that we're seeking in the Upper Peninsula give us a different kind of connection to nature than what you might experience in your city park. I walk out the door here from my house, and I'm literally in a city park across the street. I can go 5 or 10 minutes down the street and be in a nice wooded area. That is really important and lovely, and yet it does not compare to being in true wilderness. And Michigan is blessed with some places that literally have never been touched. Or as Horst says, in the case of these 4 places, they've recovered from their active resource extractive uses to a point where when you are in them, you feel like you are touching something primordial. And making sure that we have permanent access to that is part of the work that Horst and UPEC have been driving towards. So let's go look at them, Horst. Let's check out. Let's see. The first one is the Trap Hills.
Yes, isn't that beautiful? Yeah. These are ancient mountains. They used to be taller. Just like me, I used to be taller also, but I've been worn down by age. So, but this is what a lot of the area looks like. The height of the mountain is about somewhere between 1,700 and 1,800 feet. And if you've been to the Porkies, the they're just around 1,500 feet. So you get an idea of their relative height. And so if we go, if we go to the next slide, you
Yeah.
could, again, this is, this is something that just occurred to me. You can go just about anywhere you want in the wilderness if you have the energy and the time and the motivation. So, these guys came up. I don't know if they follow a trail or if they had to make their own, that kind of thing. That's what wilderness is about. You come, you look, and then you leave, and then there's no trace of you. That's the idea of wilderness. So, there you have that beauty again, the sunset, and joy, being able to enjoy it at the end of the day. Maybe have a cup of coffee or something. So, why do we want to protect them? Well, as you can see from these reasons, pristine and nearly undisturbed habitat, for wild, for wildlife. And this has been a big cry recently, is the fact that we're losing a lot of our wildlife, and it's going to continue if the climate change, temperature increases. So for us, this is really important. And then it's all owned by the the federal government. So we don't take any land that is private. We don't take any state land. It's already designated as a national forest. We're just removing it from the possibility of mining or logging. That's the primary issue here. And then there are some roads in the area, and but they're pretty few. And it's this idea, the serenity that's mentioned in that third paragraph. You can feel it. You won't be laying there in the middle of the night and hearing road traffic. So I think that's something to do, and then to wake up to the birds and the other wildlife. So that's where we are with the Trap Hills, and they're beautiful. Just looking, when you look on the cliffs. Okay, this is number one, the one that's right below the Porkies, and again, you have the mountains surrounding them, and the idea for us was that we would provide a continuous opportunity for people to go from the Porkies all the way south and east to the last one of the three, which is the Norwich Plains. So you have a huge hiking area. You can climb as many mountains as you're able to, and wander through the woods. And as you can see, when we use these fall shots, the color is stunning.
Right.
That's what always gets you when you're looking at this. But even when you see the green, it's kind of overwhelms your mind. And then you have the ability to fish in these shallow streams for the most part. Because remember, when the glaciation came, it took everything except the rocks. Well, it even took the rocks, but it didn't take all of them. So you're basically, this guy is basically standing on top of the mountain. If you think about it.
Those shallow cold water streams in the Upper Peninsula are some of the best trout fishing I've ever experienced. I get out in that deep wilderness, and it's completely silent, and the trickle of the water coming through, it's amazing, and the light, something else. It'll touch your heart forever.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're in the areas where the streams run through soil, you always have to go up these muddy um, banks. Here we don't have very many muddy banks. We have sandy banks. So you come kind of clean. That's what it boils down to. And then of course you have the deer. And again, it's similar to what we said before. It's an area that's been logged. They stopped logging it in I think they said in the 50s, somewhere around the 50s, 1950s. So it's really, come back so that when you are able to, get in there, you won't see, stumps for the most part. I would suspect. But the other thing is, when you go to the Porkies, you have the South Boundary Road, and that's where the Elko plot is just south of, on the other side of the road, so to speak. So Norwich Plains, and we didn't mention them by name earlier. So this is the third of the four parcels. Again, you can see it's not all plains. It has basically what we would probably call remnant mountains. And again, you can go wherever you want and overlook, or you can be down there fishing, or maybe if you're a naturalist, you're going to poke your nose and see what kind of flower or toad is down there on the ground. So why don't do we have any other? Oh, we have a little bit more. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, you can see we have intrepid walkers.
I love
They're
the
gonna
fall
go
season.
everywhere.
It's every season in the Upper Peninsula. There's something really
Yeah.
that
And there, you see,
great.
the joy of living, right there. It's embodied in that young man.
Well, he's braver than I am. I would be several yards back from that edge.
Well, he's probably a few decades younger than you too, so he's immortal.
He's steadier for sure, and hasn't developed a full sense of his mortality, perhaps.
That's right. As long as he lives, he does. But afterwards, well, we won't know. But anyway, again, the Norwich Plains are another area that's been logged and but now has gone back to growth because the Forest Service hasn't issued any logging permits in that area. So this is the furthest east you're going to go if you would be going through the Porkies and these three areas. And that's about, I think, somewhere around Highway 45, I think, but I'm not exactly sure. So anyway, here is our addition, the Sturgeon River Gorge addition. There's, I think, 16,000 acres of a federal wilderness, and it's has the Sturgeon River running through it. And since it's a large river, it really does a lot of cutting down. And right here, where we're looking, this is pretty placid for this river, but it gets pretty wild. And no, you can go ahead. Um, you can see here why it's called a gorge, because the photographer is standing on top of the hill, and the river is running around this knob. And I've walked to the area, and it's amazing when you go down there in the summer. You can just see the river really roaring through that gorge. It's amazing. This is an example. So this is where you're seeing the bare rock again, and it's the kind of thing that just makes you you want to sit there and like the guy that's on the left side of the picture there, and do the thing. One thing I wanted to mention about that is the Sturgeon River heads north and east, and it crosses Highway 41, and just north of the 41 and US 141, there's a state roadside park, and it's called Sturgeon River um, um, roadside park, and you can walk down there and you get a feel of what it is like to go there. So it's like a mini, like a mini hike. So it's a great place to stop after you've been driving for several hours. So again, we're adding a small piece in the southwest corner of the park, and it's an area that's really challenging for people who want to test their endurance. And it's one of these areas where you go in there and you look and you wonder, and just keep hiking. So I'm amazed when I've been in that area. So I really have enjoyed it.
So, Horst, you guys have assembled a coalition that's now at 68 members and growing. Can you talk a little bit about the advocacy need that you have right now and how people can get more involved, either as individuals or as organizations, if they have to be involved with another environmental or conservation group?
Well, you can contact us at keeptheupwild.com and join our other allies. As individuals, you're also welcome to join. And as all with all of these endeavors, it's a good idea to contact your senators and your representatives and let them know that you're interested in having them sponsor the bill to make this area a wilderness. And here's the information that Conan has just put up. And so we're delighted to be involved with this organization and all the others who have joined us. And you mentioned earlier about the parks funding the governor has done. What I really am impressed with is that she put $150 million into local parks.
Right.
And we have a park in my community which used to be part of an old mill, and so it's those kinds of areas that we want to be able to improve over time and make them a joy for people who drive through our community. And there are many others like it in our area.
Horst, we're a little bit past the hour, so I want to say thank you very much for introducing us to these places. They are well worth the advocacy that MEC and UPEC and ELPC and dozens of allies across the state and really the nation could be involved in. We're at the beginning of this campaign, still seeking sponsors in Washington, D.C. for designating this as wilderness space. We need your voices. We need you to participate and protect these incredibly beautiful places that are at risk right now. And we'll follow up. We have a bunch of questions and comments to answer that we didn't have time to get to today as we did the virtual tour. But trust that you'll receive an email from the MEC team with answers to those questions and clear ways for you to get more directly involved in the campaign to keep the UP wild. Horst, thank you so much for joining us today. This was great.
It's been a pleasure as always, because you're an easy host to work with. So.
Same back to you. I can't wait to join you on a future show for UPEC as well.
Okay. Well, take care. And remember, there's more summer to enjoy.
Hear, hear. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time on Capital Connection.